Oh, man.
Speaking of the Nuggets, nice enough to join us with more on them in the NBA from the All-City All-NBA pod. He hosts that with Tim Legler, covers the Nuggets and the NBA. Adam Mares with us. How are you today, Adam?
Hey, I'm doing good up here in the altitude, man. I'm breathing fine. I got no issues. It's just going well.
What do you make of the way the Kings all of a sudden here are kind of clambering up the West standings?
I think it's amazing because they're a fun team to watch. The league is better when they are playing the way that they're playing. And oftentimes you change coaches, whatever the circumstances, it breathes new life into different players. Guys get new roles, new opportunities, and sort of a new motivation. And I think you're seeing that from a handful of guys there, that it's like their confidence is unlocked, their joy is unlocked, and, not even to try to put it on, former coach, current coach, this or that. It's just the circumstance of a new opportunity, and they're playing like a team with a new opportunity.
Hey, Adam, when you look at the Western Conference, I maintain, the Kings shouldn't just be looking at top 6. I got them, possibly top 4. I think there's a possibility they can catch Denver. Who do you think?
Will you take the time to shop at Folsom Lake Honda?
Sorry about that. Our bad.
Okay.
Who do you think are the top 6 teams in the Western Conference when it's all said and done? Not right now, but when it's all said and done.
Yeah. I mean, it's so tough, right? Because of one injury here or there can change the whole dynamic. I think 3-4 weeks ago, I would have penciled Dallas in for the number 2 spot because I think fully healthy, they're there. But some injuries hit, adversity hits, and now that's going to be tough for them. But I look at it and I go, Oklahoma City, obviously they're number 1. I think that one's a lock. I think that both Houston and Memphis are tough, really tough teams that I am buying that they're going to be competitive. But I don't know if I would pencil them in. I think Denver I pencil in. You've got Jokic. They're playing their best basketball of the entire season. I do think Dallas is going to maintain some foothold on the top 6. So Dallas, Denver, Oklahoma City, to me, I would pencil in. I would give the inside track to Houston because I think what they do defensively is sustainable. And then after that, the Clippers, to me, are on the rise as well. So they're the last team I would write in pen. And then you have all the teams that we left out: Memphis, Sacramento, maybe even the Lakers, although I'm not really buying them. We just saw the Phoenix Suns make a trade that looks like a prelude trade to another one.
Yeah.
So maybe they climb back in. So I look at it and I say there's 4 or 5 teams I feel pretty confident about. And there's a lot of teams that if it breaks right, they could easily climb up there.
Adam Mares with us from the All-City All-NBA pod. Speaking of the West, Adam, what do you think of the Warriors? The Kings have the Warriors tomorrow night before playing Denver the next night. And there's a lot of talk in the Bay Area today about the Warriors. They got to blow it up. It's terrible. They're giving up. What should they do? What do you think is the best path forward for the Warriors, who got just obliterated yesterday by Boston?
The Warriors might be too far down the road for there to be a quick fix. Their quick fix probably came a season or 2 ago when they tried this 2 timelines approach, and I like a lot of their young talent. Hasn't really materialized. But when I look at them, I don't feel like they're a piece away. They're pieces away. And if you saw, obviously a 40-point loss last night is absolutely destroyed. And in the postgame, what stood out to me is all of the players who spoke, namely the leaders, Steph Curry, Kevon Looney, they had quotes that did not make it sound like they thought this was a thing that just, hey, we got to get it together. They had quotes that said, the championship era feels like it was years ago.
Yes.
There's nothing similar about the team now. And when players are saying that, and Steph Curry even said, I feel like this week, no Draymond, still trying to get Pajemski back, and those guys said this week is going to make or break our season. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just keeping it real. When he says stuff like that, it may let you know that they don't have belief that they're that team. So for me, I don't know that there is a quick fix that's going to bring this all together for them, a trade or just even help.
So Kings by 23 tomorrow, Adam? Is that what you're telling us?
What it is?
This game, though, Sacramento Golden State, that's kind of been for Denver. They won a championship in 2023, and they had to go through the Lakers because the Lakers were the one team historically that has knocked them out of the playoffs and ruined all their best eras. And sometimes I feel like you have to slay the dragon. So the Warriors, I think, have been the dragon to Sacramento for years to come. So, maybe this is the year you finally kind of put them to sleep, so to speak.
What do you make, and I know you talked about the Kings a little, do you think what we're seeing is sustainable? Is this who the Kings are, or do you need to see some more to be a believer?
I think there's a little bit of a honeymoon period going on, and I don't mean that as in anything to do with luck, but you look at Keon Ellis in the role that he has played on this team. He's been a major impact. Malik Monk, to me, has been the big standout, and it just gives them a different look. And I think what happens when teams make a change is they have a new identity that's tough to prepare for. And when I watch the Sacramento Kings right now compared to what I saw in November and especially in December, they just have a different personality. You know, the ball is in Fox's hands a little bit less. He's still obviously a huge part of it. Even DeRozan, it's a little bit less. Their end-of-game offense is so hard to guard, and I don't think there's a big scout out on what Sacramento's doing right now. But as the games go by, teams kind of see where the strengths and weaknesses are in the new version of this team, and you start to find some holes in it. So I do expect it to slow down a little bit, but that's an offense that's so talented. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, here's the wink, we forced the ball to this guy. Offensively, I think they're just going to be tough to cover for the rest of the year. Defensively, I think there's some holes in their closing lineup, their best lineups. And I think in the coming weeks, you'll probably find teams that figure a few things out that, kind of filter through the league.
Adam Mares is with us. He's from the All-City, All-NBA pod, and he covers the Nuggets. Wanted to ask you about Domas. And a lot of people, I'm not saying you do this, I doubt you do, but a lot of people reflexively will say, oh, Domas, he's like Jokic light. And, he's a good passer, but otherwise and he shoots threes this year. But what do you think of the way Domantas Sabonis has played this year? And what do you think of the matchup, which we'll have Thursday between Domas and the Joker?
Well, I think that the comparison is apt.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for what Sabonis does, and stylistically, just where he operates on the floor, on the block, on the elbows, top of the key, pick and pop game. There is a lot of similarities. The two differences that I think stand out the most, and I mean, Yoke's one of one. It's like comparing Damian Lillard to Steph Curry. Dame's an incredible player, but Steph Curry is one of one, and I think Jokic is one of one in part because he's just absolutely massive. Sabonis is a big guy. Jokic is just significantly bigger, both wider and even just a little bit longer. And then the other thing is Jokic's touch. I always say this. His passing might be his second greatest skill. His best skill is he has the most insane touch from about 7 feet from any player I've ever seen. Kevin Durant, Kareem, it doesn't matter. Jokic's touch on all these off-balance shots is just so special. But Sabonis always gives Jokic a hard time. And guys like Şengün, Karl Anthony Towns, I think because Jokic is the 3-time MVP, the best player in the world, those guys always view those Jokic matchups as a measuring stick game. And you can see they always just have a little bit of extra energy for it. So it's always been a tough matchup for Jokic. The Kings are playing fast. They're playing with spacing. Denver obviously struggles with spacing. So I think that's going to be a game where I'll predict double, triple doubles. Jokic gets one. Sabonis gets one. We probably get like a 125, 128 game. Very entertaining. And, we'll see. Is it Jamal Murray? Is it Malik Monk? Who closes the game with the big shot at the end?
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Adam, with the trade deadline coming up, do you predict any kind of move that really propels a team to a deep run, a la Dallas of last year? There's so much talk about Cam and John Collins. Are there any difference makers, team changers out there that could be even on the move? Even Jimmy Butler to Phoenix, perhaps. Like, do you think even that does it for them?
We've even heard Zach LaVine to the Nuggets.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't think the Zach LaVine thing makes sense, and Denver was in a tough spot when those things kind of came out. But, if you just saw about 15 minutes ago, Shams Charania reported that the Suns traded 1 first-round pick for 3, 1 very good first-round pick for 3 mediocre ones. And the only reason you do that is the prelude to a bigger trade. So I look at a Jimmy Butler, who's obviously, been connected to Phoenix, very Miami motivated, I think, to move on from him now. I look at that and I say that tells me Jimmy Butler's going to the Phoenix Suns. I'm not saying for certain. I don't have the inside info, but I'm just saying I look at that trade, and that sure feels like Bradley Beal and 3 first-round picks for Jimmy Butler kind of thing. So I think that's a game changer because Bradley Beal was redundant in Phoenix, and Jimmy Butler brings defense and toughness that they sorely need. So that's the type of move. But, when you look at a Denver and you look at a Sacramento, offense wins in the regular season, defense wins in the postseason. And I think Sacramento has a really good offense that's going to carry them to some big runs, as we're seeing right now, and probably get them some big wins. But when you get into a postseason, their best closing lineup right now has, Fox on the floor, Monk on the floor, DeRozan on the floor. It's a lot of offense, but is that going to stop some of the teams like a Denver in the playoffs, maybe a Phoenix in the clutch? And so to me, as much as I love that team, I do think they're probably down one or maybe even two defenders, that you're going to need when you get to the conference finals and finals.
Adam, we'll let you go. Thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate it very much, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
You bet, fellas. Have a good one.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, so Adam Mayer is among those saying, I think you said it too, Drapes. Whoa, this trade looks like a precursor, if you will, to Jimmy Butler going to the Suns. And maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but would that mean the Suns would be something the Kings would have to worry about? We'll look at that next on Sactown Sports.
Coverage options based on how much